Good evening, students. Today we learn under this is matter pure. Under this there is a differentiation of the suspension and colloids. Suspension and colloids. So suspensions are the heterogeneous mixtures. Colloids are also heterogeneous mixtures. These are heterogeneous mixtures. Heterogeneous mixture and also heterogeneous mixture. Here the particle size is 100 nanometer to 1000 nanometers. So in colloids we can find zero to 100 nanometers. 0 to 100 nanometers. Here is 100 to 1000 nanometers. Here they more than 1000. More than 1000 nanometers. So next point, these are suspension particles are visible to the naked eye. These are not visible. Not visible, and these are visible. Visible to naked eye. So we can see with our eyes these particles, these one we cannot see. Here these suspension particles can scatter the light. They can scatter light. Here also can scatter light. They can scatter light. So both the cases of find can scatter the light. Same property, scattered light is scattered. Next point. Here it is a unstable. It is a unstable. To keep the mixture alight for some without disturbance, the suspension settled at the bottom. The solute particles settled at the bottom. So that's why it is called unstable. But here is a stable mixture. It is a stable, and here is a unstable. Stable and unstable. Okay. So next point. We can separate these components by filtration. Can be separated by filtration. Can be separation. Now there we can separate the components by centrifugation. Separated by centrifugation. Centrifugation process. So these are the important properties we can find. So what are the properties here? Suspension is a heterogeneous mixture. Colloids is also heterogeneous mixture. Here suspension particles are more than 1000 nanometers. Colloids are 100 to 1000 nanometers. And suspension particles are visible to naked eye. Colloids are not visible to naked eye. Here suspension particles can scatter the light. Colloids are also can scatter the light. And suspension is unstable because when you left the mixer for a few minutes, for about some interval, the dissolved suspension settled at the bottom. So it becomes a non-suspension substance. So colloids is a stable, means the dissolved solute not settled at the bottom, it remains as it is. Colloid solution remains as it is. And these dissolved substance, the suspension can be separated by filtering. Just you take one filter paper, put in a funnel, pour the solution, the solvents comes out, collect a beaker, and solute settled in the filter paper, so that you can separate by filtration. But there it is not separated by filtration, by centrifugation. Centrifugation means when you take the mixture in a test tube and put in a centrifugation machine and rotate at high speed, then you can say heavier particles one side, lighter particles are one side, so we can separate the colloid particles from the solvent. So here is one important, usually heterogeneous mixtures can be separated into the respective components by simple methods. Means solute, solvent, two components, large amount and small amount are there in the mixture. So these mixture, the components in the mixture can be separated by different methods by hand picking. Suppose the large particles are there, mega size particles, we can remove with our hand. And sieving, sieve means by using sieve we can filter it. Like a sand is filtered from the what we call stone particles. So that is some filtration. We can filter the suspension like a what we call the precipitate substances, or we can find the chalk piece like a dust particle. We can separate by using filtration, like different methods. Next one is the flotation, filtration, crystallization, chromatography. Like this, different methods we are using. Different techniques depends upon the nature of the solute dissolved in the or solute mixed in the given mixture. So one is called sublimation. Let us see about sublimation. What is the sublimation? Just 1 minute. Sublimation. Sublimation means a substance, while we are providing heat, directly transfer into solid, into vapors. While on cooling means reducing temperature, while reducing temperature, vapors directly transfer into solid. So this substance is called sublimating substance, and method is called sublimation. Sublimation means the process of transformation of a solid substance directly into vapors by raising temperature, or the vapors directly transfer into solid state by cooling them or by reducing temperature. This method is called sublimation. So let us say example one sublimation, ammonium chloride. So in ammonium chloride, just we take this China dish, heat this dish on a tripod stand, and just above this in this dish keep the ammonium chloride substance, and it is closed with a funnel in inverted position. Close the funnel in inverted position and close the neck of the funnel with a cotton plug. This is the cotton plug. Cotton plug. So now when we provide heat, you find the solid state here is called solid state directly changes into vapors. No liquid state, only vapors. No liquid state. No liquid state directly into vapors. These vapors when touches the cool surface, this is the cool surface of funnel, and it again changes into solid state on the surface of the funnel. This is the solid ammonium chloride. This is the vapors. Vapors of ammonium chloride. Understand here? So what we did? So first we took the one china dish, and in the dish take some amount of ammonium chloride salt and keep the dish on a tripod stand. Then this dish is covered with a funnel in inverted position. The neck of the funnel is closed with a cotton plug. Now provide heat by using a burner. As temperature rises, the solid ammonium chloride directly changes into vapors of ammonium chloride. These vapors when touches the cool surface of the funnel again changes into solid ammonium chloride. So this is the activity to show the sublimation process. Okay. So the same method you can apply to the camphor also. Camphor also solid directly convert to vapors, vapors directly convert into solid. So now here is a, suppose there is a ammonium chloride mixed with a sodium chloride. Ammonium chloride mixed with a sodium chloride. How can you separate the two components from the mixture? You know already ammonium chloride and sodium chloride both are the heterogeneous substances. So these two substances keep in a china dish, and as it is like covered with a funnel inverted position, and close the neck of the funnel and provide heat. What happens? Ammonium chloride convert to vapors, and the vapors on cooling when touches the cool surface converted to solid state. Sodium chloride is not converted to vapors, it remains solid state in the china dish, so that we can separate the sodium chloride from the ammonium chloride. What is the basis for choosing a separation technique to separate the mixture? What is the basis for choosing a separation technique to separate the mixtures? Based upon the boiling points, based upon the size of the particles, and based upon the solubility and dissolving nature, and also we can find the what you call melting points. So different methods we are using for different techniques we are using for different substances based on their properties. Next one is the evaporation. So we are also using evaporation to separate one component from the another component. For example, ink. So the pigment ink dissolved in the alcohol. Pigment ink dissolved in the alcohol and water, both are there. Suppose you take the ink, dissolve in a water. What happens? Becomes a blue color. So first you take here is a, how do you separate the components of the ink, for example, or how do you separate the pigment from the ink? So first you take the one beaker with some amount of water. Now take a watch glass, keep the watch glass over the beaker with some amount of ink. Here is the ink is present. Now keep this beaker at a tripod stand and provide heat. What happens? The water gets heat and it boils. The water boils. The boiling water provides steam and provide heat. The steam supplies heat to the ink. With that steam, the ink evaporates. The alcohol present in the ink, the solvent evaporates. Solvent of the ink evaporates. Solvent ink evaporates. So the left is the blue colored pigment is present in a solid state. So this is the process of evaporation of water. Understand here? So first what we did, we take a beaker with some water kept on a tripod stand, and over this beaker, just above the beaker, we keep a watch glass which contains a small amount of ink. Now we provide heat, and the water boils in the beaker, gets the steam. The steam provides heat to the watch glass. With that heat, the ink, solvent of the ink, evaporates and left behind the solute that is called pigment of the ink. So put a few drops of ink on a watch glass and heat beaker and observe this watch glass. Continue the heat till you do not observe any further change. So what happens? The solvent present in the ink evaporates from the watch glass. Is there any residue? Yes. A blue color residue is present left aside in the watch glass. That is a solute. We know that ink is a mixture of dye and water. Dye means nothing, pigment and water. We can separate these components in the above process, that is called evaporation process. Is it possible to find out adulteration of kerosene in petrol with this technique? No, not possible. So kerosene, if mixed with the petrol, we cannot separate by using this directly boiling methods, direct heating method. We should take the fractional distillation method. So based upon the boiling point, kerosene and petrol have different boiling points. The difference between these two boiling points are very less. Because of that, we are using the distillation process, fractional distillation process. So by using fractional distillation process, kerosene converted into vapors at one temperature, petrol converted vapors in another temperature. So these vapors are collected in different vessels and cooling gives the different components. So that method is called fractional distillation method. Fractional distillation method. Right now, so there are different components of dye in the ink. That is where, so if suppose that there are different pigments are mixed together in a dye. A dye has different pigments. How can we separate these different colors of the dye? So for that we are using the chromatography. Chromo means colors. Graphic means distinction by separation. In laboratory techniques for the separation of the mixtures into individual components, we can use chromatography to separate the components present in a dye. The process also used to separate the color pigments in plants, flowers. Suppose the flowers are different, flowers are there, they have different colored pigments like red, blue, green, like that. Or use these colors of the flowers can be separated by chromatography, or used to determine the chemical composition of the many substances. So not only that one, A compound contains different chemicals, so these chemicals can be separated by using chromatography, chemical composition of many substances. See, for example, chromatography, how it is helps to us. Materials required: Baker, vapor. Let us see this one. Lab activity, chromatography. So in chromatography we are using, what is the aim? Separating the components of the ink, means separating the pigments of the ink by using a paper chromatography. So materials required for this is the beaker, rectangular shaped filter paper, a black marker, water, pencil and sellotape. These are the requirements. What are the requirements? 1. Glass beaker, a rectangular filter paper, black marker is a non-permanent, water, pencil and sellotape. These are the requirements. Now procedure, first you see, draw a thick line just above the bottom of the filter paper. Here is the filter paper, rectangular filter paper is there. Here is filter paper is there. Just put a mark just above the bottom of the filter paper. That is the black mark is there. And pour a small amount of water in a beaker. Take this beaker. In this beaker, take small amount of water at the bottom. The water present at the bottom is a small amount of water. Next, now hang this filter paper strip with the help of a pencil. Now, the one end is pasting to a pencil like this. Here is a pencil. Just you paste one side to this and hang in this one. Now here you find this is the pencil and here is the paper. Paper is present like this. Hang the paper so that the marker is just above the water. The marker is just above the water. Just above the water. Such a way that you should just touch the surface of water. So here the bottom end of the filter paper just touches the water. So make sure that ink lines or mark do not touch the water. So the mark do not touch the water, just observe this one. What happens here? So now the water allow passing through the filter paper, means the filter paper absorbing the water. Then what happens? So the water when touches the ink breaks into different pigments. These pigments passing through the filter paper in upward direction. So in different levels, different colors are present because depends upon the size of the molecules. They move in upward direction at different heights. So large molecules are moving at a less height and the smaller molecules move greater height like this. So allow the water to move up the paper 5 minutes and then remove the strip from the water and observe it. Take 2 more paper strips and markers as samples. Do the experiment same. Just you again repeat the different dyes and use the same method. Colors in the same order and in the same location at all the samples. So in all samples you put the same mark of the ink. Red ink is one paper, blue ink, green ink like a different. At the same height above the water you can observe, you can keep it and do the same experiment. So what happens here? So different colors are moving in upward direction at different heights through the filter paper. Now you, instead of using the non-permanent pigment, use the permanent marker. First we are using the non-permanent marker, we are using to mark it. Now we are using a permanent marker. What happens? The pigment is not moving through the filter paper because it is not dissolving in the water. Instead of non-permanent marker, use the permanent marker. What will happen? Now touch the marker line to water. What will you notice? Instead of thick line, draw a thin line, paper strip, non-permanent marker to a result. So chromatography used only to separate the components of the colored liquids. So what are the colored liquid? Different colored liquids moves through the filter paper in upward direction at different heights, so that we can separate one color from the another color. This is called chromatography. This is called chromatography. So once again, first you take the, what are the requirements? A beaker, a glass beaker, a rectangular filter paper, a pencil, small amount of water, and a non-permanent marker is the requirement. First you take the rectangular strip, just from the bottom to a certain height, put a non-permanent marker. Just by using non-permanent marker, put a mark and hang this filter paper in the beaker with the help of the pencil. Now in the beaker at the bottom small amount of water is taken and hang the filter paper with the help of the pencil. The pencil is resting on the edge of the beaker and this rectangular paper is hanging. So that way we observe that the bottom slightly touches the water. The bottom of the filter paper slightly touches the water, but the marker's mark should not touch the water. Just it is above the water. Now observe this one, you find the water is absorbed by the filter paper, the water moves upward direction. While the water moving upward direction, the pigment present in the mark is also moving upward. So same method we are using different colors, different markers in different colors, and observe the height of these color pigments, how far they are moving upward direction, so that we can separate the different colors by using this method. Suppose now you are taking the permanent marker. Instead of non-permanent marker, we are using a permanent marker, and again you do the same experiment. You find the pigment is not moving because it is not dissolving in the water, so not moving through the water. This method is called, so chromatography used for separation of the colored pigments. Next, separation of immiscible and miscible liquids. So let us see, the immiscible liquids means when two liquids are mixed together, the two liquids do not mix homogeneously. They are mixing in heterogeneous. When two liquids are mixed together, in that mixture, the two liquids are not homogeneously mixed. They are present in a different layers as a heterogeneous. It is unstable. So how do you separate these components? So in that case, heterogeneous liquid mixtures can be separated by using separating funnel. They are called immiscible liquids. Separation of immiscible liquids. Here is a separating funnel. Fixing this separating funnel to a stand. This is the stand. Now at the bottom here you find is a nozzle to open it or close it. Now pour the water and kerosene. Now mix the water and kerosene and pour it. Mixture of water plus kerosene. So when these two come mixed together, mixture is separate. After a few minutes you find water present at the bottom because it is heavier. Kerosene is present in the upper layer. Now open the nozzle. What happens? So the lower layer run down. That means here when you open it, when you open the nozzle, what happens here? The water run down. When the water completely run down, what the remaining is kerosene. So close the nozzle, stop the cork. Then you find that the separating funnel contains only kerosene. The water is present in the collecting beaker, so that we can separate the one component from the another component. So immiscible liquids separate into a layers depends upon their densities. Did you observe in your village how castor oil is separated? Means so the castor seeds are grinding into paste like mass. The paste is mixed with the water and taken a large vessel, is a large pot, and boiled. When they are heated, gradually the oil droplets comes out from the paste to the upper surface. So that oil is separated time to time from the surface so that we can get the pure castor oil. So that method is the same method is used for separation of the castor oil from the seeds by using this method. Okay. We'll continue this tomorrow, next class. Thank you.